They say performance has an expiration date, but what if they're wrong? No matter where you start, the goal's the same: to be better, stronger, wiser, bolder. We're here for the relentless, those that don't back down, don't compromise, and don't quit. This is training for Masters athletes by Masters athletes, with a community that holds you steady. So say goodbye to random workouts, because whether you're stepping into following a program for the first time or stepping onto the podium, your journey starts here.
All right, team. Welcome to the Boulder Athlete Podcast. This is episode 10. We have a slight shift in gears. Dare I call it a special episode? We're going to flip the script. We're turning the keys over to Aaron. Aaron is going to lead the charge here and actually interview me. And so I'm a little excited. I'm a little nervous, but I think it's going to be cool. So let's do this thing, man. Aaron, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, glad to have you, Josh. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Hopefully get some really good juicy secrets from you, maybe on some training secrets or recovery things or something. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to start off with just some quick hitters for you. Okay. And they're going to be 1 or 2 word answers, and we'll just go through it. And then after that, we'll start getting into your story a little bit. Okay. All right. You ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right. The workout is Fran or Diane. Which one?
Fran all day.
Barbell or dumbbell?
Barbell.
Bar or ring muscle up?
Probably bar. I'm better at those.
Bike, row, or ski?
Probably row. The bike eats me up. The ski I'm okay at, but the row, I think between the 3 is probably my stronger one.
Long duration, medium, or short?
Short every time. With the sprint, I'm in.
Lifters, yes or no?
No way. Not for me.
Beef or chicken?
Chicken.
All right.
I had a lot of chicken in my life.
Okay. All right. NFL or college football?
I watch way more NFL football.
Okay.
But I really enjoy the culture of college football a heck of a lot more.
Football, baseball, or basketball? If you had a chance to watch one of those.
Yeah, it's always football. I got too much history there.
Workout music, just genre.
Yeah, you know a little bit about this. So if I'm doing like competitive mode, I go no music. Usually if I'm like trying to record a workout and do like a semifinal or open workout or something, it's usually no music, keep me focused. But if I'm just training, I like by the way, I like all music. So from country to like EDM, but I usually go for like an EDM style if I'm training to give me a little extra oomph.
Yeah, I've heard some of your music. Yeah, we gotta update it a little bit. All right, so let's get into some of your CrossFit stuff. Like, let's get into what makes you who you are now. What's your first CrossFit workout?
I can remember elements of it. I don't know if I could replay the whole workout for you, but I remember I was working at a gym. I was a personal trainer, and we were like, should we bring in elements of CrossFit into our training philosophy? And we ran a lot of group fitness classes at the time, and like, do we want to introduce that in some capacity? So we were kind of in this investigation phase. We went to a local gym, walked in, and we're like, yo, we're just new members. We're just doing our thing. And there was some shuttle running. There were some wall balls and double unders, I remember. I couldn't double under to save my life. Wall balls, I remember at one point I granny tossed a wall ball up there because I was so toasted. And of course, the shuttle running, I came out so fast and so hot and was so unsustainable that all to say, I walked away from that going like, holy Moses. First off, I love it because it's all quantifiable and there was a score and it was super competitive. And I was like, yeah, game on. But I was also so humbled because I got my butt kicked and everybody around me essentially beat me and my movements sucked. And I just had so many things exposed that I was like, wow, if I want to be respectable at this, I've got a lot of work to do. So it knocked me down many pegs. And then ultimately we felt like, yeah, this is a really cool thing. We kept doing it as members for a couple months. But we ended up introducing not CrossFit, but something that was very Metcon-y and CrossFit-y in our gym, and it became really dang popular.
What year was this? because I have a follow-up question.
This was like 2011 or so. I don't know if I've nailed that, but
Yeah.
it was around that time period.
Well, after that workout, were you like, I got to figure out how to do more, or do I, just do this supplementally, or how did your kind of like path start from workout one to like getting kind of competitive? Because I know that a few years down the road, you were at Mayhem and got really competitive. So kind of what was that little early journey there?
Yeah, so as I said, we were kind of just investigating what CrossFit was like and learning a little bit about the methodology. I'll be honest, there was a time before that where I was incredibly suspect of CrossFit. And like many, before you experienced it, you only hear about it and you kind of create all these assumptions and conclusions. And I was totally guilty of that. I was like, yeah, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I kind of put it in a box and was like, I think I know what it is. And I really did
Right.
not. And so it wasn't fair at all to CrossFit. But then we went and did it, and I was like, oh, this is very different. But we didn't, I won't say names, but we didn't have great coaches at that time. And so that was kind of not helping my experience. The workouts were cool. I was enjoying those, but I couldn't say that the coaching at that place was like super inspiring or adding a bunch of credibility to the sport of CrossFit.
Right.
Not that it was hurting, it just wasn't helping it a ton.
Yeah.
And we then decided, hey, we're going to adopt a similar methodology. We totally put a spin on it and made it our own. It was essentially Metcons without Olympic lifting, and a lot of, functional movements and moving from one thing to the other, high intensity, varied, all of that. But we spun it in a way that, obviously we didn't require an affiliation, and it was just Metcons. Cool, awesome. Our members loved it. We got a great taste of it. So I was building my motor a bunch there.
Right.
And had a good baseline of strength, but I was doing zero barbell work really at that time. And then the guy at this gym was like, "Hey, we had been doing it for a couple months. He's like, the Open is coming up," and I didn't know what that was, and he introduced that to me. "Do you want to be on our team?" was his question, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah, sign me up." We signed up. I did like 2 weeks. I ended up blowing my ankle out playing basketball, and I couldn't finish the Open. But that was the first like taste of actual CrossFit. And I have some early videos on YouTube that are like me doing double unders and snatches, and I'm super skinny. I'm super like not uncoordinated, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to snatch,
Right.
and but that was what I needed. Like that taste of it was ultimately like there is something really cool here, and I really don't like not being good at something. So I learned that I wasn't good at a lot of things, and it really motivated me to put in the work. And ultimately, we then were like, "Hey, we're going to get an affiliate, and we're going to start a CrossFit gym." And I was the head coach and the owner in the eyes of CrossFit. And man, that catapulted our competitive journey. I got my L1, I got my L2. That changed my entire viewpoint of CrossFit because the coaching was fantastic. And those L1 coaches, Chris Spieler and Adrian Conway and Pat Barber, were my coaches. And I was like, these guys, not only are they incredibly fit because we're doing workouts together, but they are articulating the philosophy so well that I was like, that I can latch on to, that I believe in,
Yeah.
that inspires me. I want to take that and go teach to others. So that was a major turning point for me, actually, was getting my L1.
Yeah. I love the L1 process. Like, I think it's awesome. I think everybody should go through it at least one time. And that's not like a CrossFit Kool-Aid thing. That is when you meet the red shirts, it's a different vibe. I had Jason Fernandez and Chuck and a few others. I can't remember their names. And maybe Jason Ackerman was on one. Anyway, just really stand-up people, and they make you like get really excited about going back to your affiliate. And it's like it's a really cool feeling. Yeah.
I agree that it shifted because naturally I was kind of gaining a respect for CrossFit at that time, but I didn't have that level of coaching in my life yet. And I went from like what I would call average to subpar coaching to what I assumed was the very best. And it just I thought so differently of CrossFit after that that I was like, I had drunk the Kool-Aid at that point. And now I was like,
Oh
this
yeah.
is something we need to do. We went back, we invested in our gym, and man, I mean, it's just been a big part of my life ever since then.
Yeah. There, um, there's no other system that works as well as CrossFit. And I've been personal training for 20 years. There's nothing that creates more functional strength, drops body fat, helps with blood sugar levels. There's nothing that contends with it. And
Hmm.
you've seen it firsthand. I mean, you're 41, right?
That's right.
41, you have an amazing physique, and I'm sure if you were just walking to a regular gym working out, you'd probably have a good physique, but not as robust and functional as what you have now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally do anything. You can go hike, go up a mountain. You can probably move a car. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both had we got hooked really early. I had an okay coach. He didn't really have an L1 or anything, so I just got online and read everything and watched all the videos, and that's how I got really hooked into it early on. But yeah, you got a lot of good firsthand experience there. And that's probably what molded you into where you are now. You saw it.
Yeah, it set the bar really high. And as I walked away, I was like, and I felt like I was a pretty good personal trainer, at
Hmm.
that time. This is my own biases.
Hmm.
Um, but I felt like I was a really good communicator and I understand the methodology of just like human, like physiology. And that was what
Right.
my degree was in. So I was taking, all of my knowledge fresh out of college and really applying that in what I felt like was a really practical and good way and unique to me. And then I met these guys and was like, that's what great coaching looks like. That's what really concise
Right.
cueing looks like. That's how you explain a really complex uh, concept in a very simple and straightforward way. And, they helped me understand how not only okay it was, but like intentional it is to simplify your cueing. Because I can think of points in my coaching career where I was like, a machine gun cure, where you just like,
Yeah.
and you're just given like 30 cues a minute. And the truth is like nobody can consume that and then apply that. You need to give like one cue, maybe a
Hmm.
day, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like really focus on being as simple as possible. But that cue can be short and concise, but it can be really deep. It can, there's a
Hmm.
lot to it, but keep it simple. And the art is really the simplicity,
Right.
and that's what helps make a great coach. It is not how much you know and like just
Right.
vomiting a bunch of information. That doesn't make you a good coach.
Right.
So that shifted my mindset a lot. And not that I was amazing after that, but it really helped set me on a better path.
Right. That cueing is something that you have to really want to do though. You have to if you're coaching, whether it's a tactile cue, hey, I need you to get your shoulders to my hand, or
Yeah.
whether it be a verbal or a visual cue. And yeah, that's what makes and this is a thing that like I've talked about a lot. Like CrossFit level 1, 2, 3, 4 trainers are much better than any personal trainer I've ever met. And I come from a personal training background, and
Mhm.
once I got into CrossFit, I was like, wait, man, I am not doing this right. Like these guys are doing it right. Like because
Mhm.
sometimes in personal training you're rep counting 1, 2, 3. CrossFit it ain't rep counting. Like it is creating an experience and the magic in the movement pattern.
Yes,
And
yeah.
changing people's perspective too, because you are professional. But um, so I want to talk a little bit about like you just a little more into CrossFit. All right, what is your biggest fear in CrossFit? Okay, and does that fear fuel and motivate you, or is it something that you just have to use? You keep it there, and you know it's there, and you don't think about it. Like for instance, like I'll just say something completely random to you.
Hmm.
Like if I fell off the bar and hit my back on a bar muscle up, my fear would be falling and getting injured again, maybe. So with you, is it what's one of your fears in CrossFit?
Yeah, it's exactly where my mind was going. My fear is that it will be taken away.
Okay.
fear that it will be taken away. And that's like, yeah, CrossFit as well, but like my fitness has been such a part of my identity. Like I've been an athlete since I can remember. I played sports of every kind, and I've always been a good athlete and, better than most. And that's how I have
Mm,
defined myself. That's what keeps me motivated. And when I'm not, I respect the hell out of those athletes that are better than me, and I'm super motivated to climb the ladder. And, I'm willing to do the work and do what it takes. And so to have that so deeply ingrained in my DNA and have done that for so many years, to have that taken away, that is probably one of my biggest fears. And so the way that I mitigate that or navigate that is like, I'm going to make sure that I move really well. And it's especially necessary with the volume and the loads that we move. And if I was to, just clean and jerks or something, for example, or overhead squats, if I had an impinged shoulder, but I was so stubborn that I just kept moving the same kind of load with that impingement in place, like it is a recipe for disaster. And so I'm going to make sure that if I've got something going on with my body, I'm going to address it. I'm going to make sure that I move really well through all these patterns because not only is it greater for my efficiency and my performance, but it's going to keep me healthy long term
right.
because I want to perform at a really high level, but I want to be able to perform, period, for a long
Mm,
dang time. And
right.
so I invest a lot in my consistency of mobility work and the quality of my movement.
Okay. Um, yeah. So like, let's go into that a little bit. So walk me through like a typical warm up for you,
Yeah, it's
since
honestly
this
it's
is
not.
this is a premium thing for you. Like I know a lot of athletes our age that literally they roll the barbell out there and they get going. Like
Yeah,
I
I
know
do
a
the
lot.
same thing every day, regardless of the movements that I'm about to take on. So, and it's not fantastic, but the consistency of what I do is then I know every day how that feels, and I'll pass through a
Mhm.
series of movements that allows me to like kind of get the engine light check on each like muscle group where I'm like, ooh, that's especially tight today. Ooh, this isn't
Mhm.
that joint isn't mobilizing well enough. And so by the time I'm done with that, I've got a good sense of like either, hey, things feel great, I'm moving really well, or I got some kinks and I need to be a little careful. But my warm up, you know, it's easier to visualize than it is to verbalize, but I go straight to the calf board first thing that I do because I tend to be I have in my history been very quad dominant. And so my calves and my quads can get real tight. So I go to the calf board and I'll spend like 2 to 5 minutes just standing on that sucker side to side. Then I go grab a foam roll, roll out my whole body, backside, quads, get into my lats and like triceps and shoulders. That's been a new area of emphasis because my elbows have been aching and that has solved it. And so I've gotten rid of all that like elbow kind of tendonitis-y, tennis elbow-y
Mhm.
stuff. I stretch my forearms. And so as part of my pigeon stretch, I put my hands backwards on the ground and it's essentially a calf stretch for the forearms. And so that also helps my elbows. And then I go through a series of, if you're familiar with like the world's greatest stretch, it's essentially that pattern. And I do that. And then I get on a TRX and I mobilize my lats and shoulders and chest. And then I grab a barbell and I'll go through some basic barbell patterning. Maybe I'll get on a bike to get my heart rate elevated, but given the volume of work in Boulder, I tend to
Right.
just get right into the
Yes.
like that kind of early EMOM Metcon that we do and feel great. And after that sucker, boy, I'm warm. I'm ready to go.
Let's just go into the Boulder programming. Let's get into
Uh,
the fun stuff. This is where I'm real interested. All right. So you've been on since December, right? Before
you
was
tell
it
me. We started at the same
November,
time.
December? Okay. So somewhere November, December is when we started.
Okay.
All right. We're approaching May's coming up. So just give me your view on how it's gone, uh, changes you've seen within yourself, and then maybe even areas that you thought, hey, I'm good here, and then now you're like, whoa, I'm so much better now. I thought I was better, things like that.
Yeah. So caveat is like, look, I recognize my own biases here. Like, am I biased older? You betcha I am. So I'll try to say this like as objectively as I can, but it's completely honest. And I've talked about this a little bit on previous podcasts, but one, like it's the best program I've been on, and I can say that with absolute confidence. And the reason I say that is because it has pushed me in a way that I hadn't been pushed before, and I am performing in a way that I didn't know I could achieve it. I knew I had this ceiling in me, but I didn't know if I was actually going to get there. And between Boulder Programming and the community, and the community is inclusive of the Wolf Pack, which has been, I've told you guys countless times how valuable you have been to me. So between the Wolf Pack, the Boulder community at large, and the Boulder Programming, it has been the trifecta of success for me. Now, I'm not saying that that is the trifecta of success for everybody, but I know what I needed, and that has been it. So I can't speak enough about that. In terms of where I was, like I was doing mayhem programming and quite happy. You and I were doing it
Mhm.
together, and we had been doing it together for years. And
Long
both of
time.
us were pretty dang fit.
Yep.
And we're pretty, I mean, it's an understatement to say we're pretty dang loyal to mayhem at that time as well. We were like defending why
Mhm.
we should continue to stay here when we were having some conversations about like should we go test out something else. And I may have been one of the more stubborn ones on like guys, let's just keep with the mayhem train here. But that only lasted, that lasted a few, I mean honestly it would had been probably about a year where we had that conversation on and off.
Yeah.
But then there was a few month stretch where we were having it more regularly, like maybe we really should be considering something else.
Yeah.
And you were a real catalyst for Boulder. You were like, hey, I've kind of tested it. It was a lot, but if we went back and tried it the right way,
Yeah.
it could be really great. And so I think you and I both were like, you know what, we're just going to do the free trial.
Yeah.
And we did it. And my experience was, wow, this is a lot of stuff. This is a lot of volume. But at the same time, like in my head, I was knowing that my body has responded the best when I've been under a lot of volume.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so this is a lot and this is hard. We started at the end of a cycle, which was incredibly the wrong thing to do. But I
Mhm.
was also thinking, hey, if we just, if we if we can start at the right time at the beginning of a cycle, and then I can sustain this volume, I think I'm going to be super fit. I think I'm going to get really fit.
We're either gonna get really fit or we're gonna die trying. That's I think
That's
what we
right.
said.
And I thought I was more confident in the former, and so I was like, you know what?
Sure.
Let's do this. And yeah, like the proof points are, hey, the way that I approached the CrossFit Open season last year, and the way that I finished in the Open, the way I finished in
Mhm.
quarterfinals, semifinals, and even the game, I went to the games, and the way that I finished the games last year, this whole season, I've been telling, like having these moments where I'm like, I am so much fitter than I was last year.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
you just have that feeling like this would have killed me last year. I wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
do that last year, and so that was kind of like my internal dialogue. And I was so interested to see how this open season and CrossFit Games season would go, because then it is the proof point of like, now you'll get to find out how are
Right.
you and how is your fitness relative to everybody else. And man, I'm very excited and happy with the way that this went. And it was like, okay, all those things I had been thinking could be true showed up,
Right.
and my fitness was where I hoped it could be. And now I'm really stoked about I mean we've been doing Boulder for like what 5 months,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's just the beginning, man. And so I'm
Yeah.
I'm really excited about where we're headed.
Yeah. I think it was I think the shift for me was just focusing on the quality of movements, even though we do a lot of volume, but making sure that on the days that we do have some of the endurance work that I actually good strong lockouts in the bar, muscle ups. I'm doing everything at the best of my ability I can, even though I could do it really, really fast and then rest for the next 45 seconds. actually doing the repetitions to full efficiency.
Hmm.
And my movement efficiency has increased. And like, for instance, like I just don't have any issues with the gymnastics stuff anymore. Like I thought I was good at gymnastics
Yeah,
until I spent 5 months on Boulder, and then I was like, okay, I thought I'm not as good as I thought I was.
that's right. And
But that's it. But I mean, to your point too, like I feel like a lot of athletes that are joining now are kind of seeing that they thought that they were much better, and now they're like, whoa, there's another world here. I could really turn myself into something.
I and if they're competitive, I
Mm-hmm.
hope that that's a positive reality check,
Mm-hmm.
where they're looking at that and going, "Ooh, this is going to work.
Yeah.
This is going to make me better." And my
Right.
guess is a certain degree of them hoped that would be true when they came to Boulder, and
Right.
that they're finding that this is a different level of programming and a different concentration and distribution of programming that is going to help take me to another level of competitiveness. And I think that will be true. If people do it, I think they're really going to benefit. I don't know if you can do all that
Yeah.
program, all that work, and not benefit pretty significantly from it. Also, to your point, that was one of the things that stands out in my mind is gymnastics. I thought I was a pretty good gymnast before,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm so much more confident, not only in my own ability, but when things come up in a workout, like in the open or semifinals or whatever, I'm also telling myself, I bet you I've done way more gymnastics than pretty much all these dudes. And so that
Guaranteed.
takes my confidence to another level, and that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely prepare you for anything. I mean, it's been pretty remarkable, and your progress has been. I mean, I thought you were really fit last year. I didn't think you'd have any drop off, and you have not. You have definitely taken a couple more steps forward, which is to your training, your dedication. It's been really impressive to watch. And I even snuck in there and watched a few of your semifinals videos. I had to check on you, and
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool, cool. Like he's looking good. Like, because I mean, you post some stuff online, but the semifinals is a completely different animal. You're talking about the intensity is 10 out of 10, and the
Yeah.
concentration has to be there. You've got to execute, and your preparation matched the game.
Hmm.
You walked out there, and it's like a football analogy. We have the walkthroughs before the game, right? Going through some of the plays and stuff, and you literally executed perfectly. Um,
Thanks, man.
so
Appreciate that.
name one thing in Boulder that is your favorite thing when you see it, like whether it's a workout, the
Yeah.
endurance, a shoulder piece, the second session. Just name something that just like you get excited about.
Man, that's a good one. I love the EMOM like gymnastics metcons that we've been
Mm-hmm.
doing in the beginning. I have just come to really enjoy those. In the beginning, I thought two metcons in a day? What is this nonsense? I don't know if I'm gonna, keep up with this. And now it's like I just they're great. I don't want to go a day without them. And even on like the crazy shoulder endurance Tuesdays that we do, I remember the first couple weeks of that, I was like, this is a little nutty. Like I can't do the work after these metcons. But
Yeah.
now back to that like confidence thing, because I've adapted to it,
Hmm.
and the fatigue that I established early on in those metcons helps me refine my technique during the barbell work. But
Right.
then when I go into a competitive environment, I'm also like, nobody's done as much shoulder work as I have.
No.
And so I'm like,
No.
I think I'm going to
Nobody.
be better here. And that is just a mental element that has built my confidence that I now love. And I feel like it's a secret sauce.
So with semifinals, did you redo any of the workouts?
I did. I redid one. So there's some goodness to this. I'll tell you the story on why I redid it. So I had only done it was in workout number 2, the row shoulder to overhead,
Hmm.
and I had during my 21 shoulder to overheads, my coach or my judge was counting out loud, and at 16 or so he stopped counting, like just went silent, and then I was repping, and I wasn't counting because I was hearing him count. And then he started counting again at some point, and he said 21, done. I was like, great, and I dumped it. Well, long story short, I hadn't done 21. I had only done 20. And thankfully, Luke, Mayor Schmidt from the Wolfpack, reviewed my video and called it out. I was like, Josh, I think you've only done 20 of these. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. So I went and redid that workout the next day. But I
Yeah.
wasn't going to because I was very satisfied with my performance. So one, thank goodness he found that and called it out, and I went and redid it. But I also made some progress there, so it was like a total blessing in disguise. The bigger takeaway for me, Aaron, and this is back to like Boulder, I've never not redone every single workout at least once. Never. Every open I've done open for a long time. Every quarters, semis, I've redone every workout. This semis, I did each workout once and was like, I think that's actually pretty solid.
That's
And
very
I've
impressive.
never said that, you know? I've just never finished a workout and been like, wow, I feel good about the way that I executed that. I feel good about the fitness that I expressed during it. And I think I'm actually feeling pretty good about what that score could be. Instead, my typical mindset is like, oh, crap. I blew it. I came out too hot. My strategy I couldn't execute. I wanted to hit that weight and I didn't. And I'm just in like the dumps. And so I'm like,
Right.
well, learn from it and do it again.
Right.
And it was just such a different experience. And again, as I look at proof points to Boulder, I'm like, that's the proof point.
And you
That's
improved
the
your
proof point.
score.
Yeah.
So you improved your redo on a workout that you would have gotten penalized on. Um, so that goes back into all those Tuesdays, all that shoulder endurance work. You
Yeah.
just it just did. I felt the
Yeah.
same way. Like I did that workout and my shoulders were fine. I just you know I, I wouldn't have felt that a year ago. I would have that workout would have
Right.
I would have still done okay on that workout, but uh, I would have had some struggles there.
Yeah.
I
No
may
doubt
have
about
broken
it.
up more sets or something, but yeah, it's interesting. But you're sitting in sixth right now, right? Fifth or sixth? I don't want to misquote
Yeah,
that.
it changes by the day. I think
Okay,
sixth is where it's currently
let's
at.
just say top. We'll just say top 10. Did you expect that, or do you think that? I mean, I know that you've got to. You're like me. We're athletes. We expect to perform and be really good. And
Mhm.
did you expect to be top 10?
No, absolutely didn't expect that. Did I have some like hopes and dreams? Maybe. You know, like, oh, that'd be cool. But honest, if I'm being real honest with myself, no, it wasn't part of my expectation at all. Um, After I had done all the workouts, and you know how this process goes. You're fishing a little bit. You're checking in with people. How'd they do? Oh, I heard so and so did this well. And you're kind of trying to piece together like what might be your own puzzle
Mm-hmm.
based on what they did and how they well, maybe I might finish somewhere in this range. And so I was kind of thinking about that stuff. Um, and I was thinking based on the information I was getting, like, gosh, I think on the average, I didn't like smash anybody on any particular one, but on the whole, I think there it's going to be a pretty good average overall. And so in the back of my mind, it was like, maybe it's a thing. Anyways, when they first got posted and I scrolled down and I passed myself on the first scroll and I'm like, hold on, was that me? Oh man. So that was a cool moment. And again,
Yeah,
that was like, okay, another proof point. Something's working here.
yeah, yeah. Your fitness is definitely there. It's been really impressive to see. I want to kind of go back to like a little bit more like last year. So made the games last year. You performed pretty well. I mean, we're with top 40 guys in the world. You were was it top 20, right? Because you made
Yeah,
the cut,
13.
right? Okay. Which is super impressive. Very hard workouts, by the way. You've got to have some serious strength to do those workouts, and obviously, you're a strong guy. Um, the games ends, and then to this point, like, what was your mindset like? Are you? Because I know some people go through a burnout stage, whether it's physical, mental. Um, just they lose that that juice to do it again. Um, what helped you kind of keep that going into this year to this games?
The first thing that I'm thinking about, honestly, was you guys, the Wolf Pack, our little group. Um, we had just supported each other through so much, leading up to that. And so this is like years. But then, like, having you guys behind me, and encouraging me to get there. And then, we get there and like, wow, you really helped me unlock something.
Hmm.
And then, all your little Games Boy tags and all, which, by the way, I secretly hate, but it changed some of my own expectations.
Hmm.
Like, okay, I want to go back. That's now a thing for me. It wasn't a thing before. It is a thing. So this whole off season has been with a singular focus. Well, I'm going
Hmm.
back. Like I need to prove that I can do that again, and I don't need to prove it to anybody else. I need to prove it to myself.
Yeah, I knew
I
you could.
can be that good of an athlete.
Hmm.
And so then each day in the gym, it is written on my whiteboard. You want to go back? You better prove it. Okay. Every day I'm looking at that thing. All right, I better prove it. So there has been a different level of intentionality to my training since the games last year. There's been new programming, there's been new community, there's been some new things that back to that trifecta that have really made a difference. And
Hmm.
we've talked about some of the proof points. I got plenty of things to point at where I'm like, yeah, it's working.
Yeah, I mean, I had no doubt. You're a driven guy. You're a good enough athlete to be there every single year. It's just you just hear these stories of really good guys and they just drop off.
Hmm.
So it's cool to see that you're almost reinventing yourself again for this year, and you're working on some things and deficiencies that are keeping you interested in CrossFit and competitive side of it. And your
Yeah.
deficiencies might, to me, I feel like you don't have many, but you may in your mind, oh my gosh, I have all these things I need to work on.
Yeah.
But with that, like that's when you get into that top 10 category, you've got to be extremely fit and extremely well balanced across the board. And your preparation has been there. So we got to keep pushing you in the right direction.
Well, I trust that you will, and I
Yeah.
certainly appreciate it. You know, the element that we're also dancing around is like there's life circumstances that come up for a lot of these guys,
Hmm.
especially at our age, where you're like, hey, I just had a kid, or I just got laid off, or we just moved, or like there's just
Sure.
big things that happen that all of a
Yeah.
sudden, fitness is just not the priority anymore, and you can't dedicate yourself to it the way that you once did. And I think that's where some of these guys go. They just got to go deal with life, and
Yeah.
this gets put on the back burner, and I totally get that. So I feel incredibly blessed that, things are stable enough
Hmm.
that allow me to do this on a consistent enough basis that, help me do these cool things. So,
Is there anything that you were gonna work on going towards the games now? I mean, these scores are validated. 99% chance you're going forward. Is there anything else you're going to add to your programming or maybe your mindset, maybe nutritionally? Like, is there anything else you're going to try to add in that's going to maybe help you that maybe you were deficient in maybe last games? Or is it just, I'm sticking to what's working right now?
yeah, that's a really good
You
question.
don't have to give all your secrets away because if I asked a couple of top
I,
five guys, they wouldn't tell me anything. But
yeah, I'm an open book. So, like, look, it's not rocket science. Am I going to do a little bit more work? Probably. Am I going to be a little bit more focused? Yes, I think I will be. I'm really competitive and I want to show up and make sure that I represent my best self. And so that will be a big motivator for me. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to work out a little harder. I'll probably carry a little bit more intensity. The consistency has always been there. I know I'll turn the dials on my diet at the right time to make sure that I'm peaking in all areas. Um, my endurance is probably not my greatest strength, so I'll probably add a little bit more endurance work, like zone 2 sessions, just to help build that, cardiovascular base. But in terms of like, do I feel like I'm missing anything? The programming's not touching on an element that I need to
Mhm.
really build up. There is no obvious thing. Now, doesn't mean I won't discover something at some point, but right now I have seen too many good signals to suggest that I'm becoming more well-rounded. My fitness is moving in a good direction. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here at all. I want to stick to the program and it's helping. Yeah, I mean that's kind of it.
All right. If if you were a first time member, you haven't done a lot of CrossFit, and you sign up for Boulder, do you have any advice for those people? And they could have a pretty, they could be start off with somebody at a very low skill level, and just tell us what you think they should start off with as far as Boulder expectations, maybe what they need to work on.
Yeah, I would start with a track that feels most appropriate for their current ability level and like state of fitness and like be really honest about what that is. For example, like if you're just coming into CrossFit and you jump on Boulder's Elite track, that's not going to be a great outcome probably. So like whether that's Boulder Body where you're doing some more traditional kind of bodybuilder type of things with equipment that's available in your gym, like that's a great place to start. If that's Boulder Core or Boulder Minimal, like start where it feels most appropriate. And then even if you're getting into like the core and compete track, you got to just be listening to your body, and you'll know, hey, I'm feeling good and you know, I don't have any big aches or pains. I feel like I'm making progress or I'm fatigued in the right way, I'm sore in the right places. Tune into that stuff and you can't be guided by your ego and the leaderboard and trying to keep up with that. It's really about like just tuning into yourself first. And then if you do that successfully, tune into yourself successfully, you're going to build in a really
Right.
productive way. And then you will naturally advance to take on a little bit more volume or take on, maybe a different track. So I would just say start at the beginning of a cycle. If you're going to get into one of the boulder tracks cycles, start at the beginning, don't start at the end. Start slow and really be tuned into how your body's feeling and making sure that you're progressing appropriately.
You've got a extensive sports background. So you've been playing basically like almost like me. You've been playing a ball sport for as long as you've known, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's given you? I say this because I know it's given me an advantage. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think that's given you an advantage in your CrossFit career? Because I have a follow up question.
100%. Yeah, it's giving me an advantage. I could go another 20 minutes talking about just all of that question alone, but like some of the things that stand out are if you're going to be an athlete, if you're going to be a competitive athlete outside of CrossFit, like in any sport, there's a lot of work and dedication and discipline and all the things that you have to have in order to be competitive there. So you build up work ethic, grit, resiliency, all of those things, and you're probably in the weight room building up a really good foundation of strength and skill. You're also like coordinating a lot of movement patterns together. If you're going to be a really good
Mm.
athlete, you got to be pretty dang coordinated. So you've probably moved through a lot of patterns that translate then to CrossFit, and you see in CrossFit some people that are just like, man, they're just good athletes. They just move
Mm-hmm.
great. And then you see some that can move a barbell and move themselves and move objects, but they don't do it in the most efficient way. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't have that natural athleticism. They have a lot of raw output, but they don't have like this athletic element that helps them do that in a really efficient way. And so I feel like that's an advantage that both you and I have and a number of people that we know. So yeah, those are probably the things that stand out initially for me.
The follow up question is we've got a lot of young people starting off with CrossFit, and they're skipping football, basketball, baseball, soccer to focus on CrossFit to make some kind of a career. Um,
Mm.
Question I have for you is, I mean, where do you kind of stand on that? Do you think it should always be CrossFit should be a hobby for those younger people and they should play some sports if they like playing sports, or should they focus on CrossFit and then that window could be 15 years old to 25 where they could actually make some money and get sponsorship or whatever it may be.
I've never been asked that question. Honestly, I never thought about it, but I have a pretty strong opinion on it.
Hmm.
Honestly, I absolutely think sports is the priority. I think CrossFit is a fantastic supplement to that. I wish I would have had CrossFit to supplement my fitness that would have translated to sport. Um, the advantages of sports, team sports are an incredible thing. Like you can't do it all. You have to find a way to lead and be a great teammate. And that means leveraging the great strengths around you and helping pick people up and fight through adversity collectively, because that is like the things of life. You enter the workforce, you're working as a team, you got to work collectively. You can't just run the whole show. You need to do your thing and rely on other people to do their thing. You got to pick people up. Like, it's just, there's so much that I've gained in my athletic sports career that I translate into the corporate workplace today.
I was actually going to ask you this. So you're already into segueing into my last couple questions here. Okay. Well, let's go. Let's talk about that. So, like, I actually had a question. CrossFit can be extremely difficult. I mean, you could actually, it could be super easy for you, or you can make it you can make it as hard as you want to, right? Do you think with the competitive nature of yourself and how hard you train, do you feel like that translates or transfers into your job place or workplace rather, because of how hard and you have to work in maybe a workout, or how hard you train on a normal basis? Does it feel like maybe life's a little bit easier because of how hard you make things for yourself with these workouts?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yes, for sure. Like, when I finish a workout in the morning, especially if we're somewhere in the red and I'm peeling myself off the ground and crawling into the shower, and then I crawl down into my office, and then I get going to my work day, I'm like, well, that's the hardest thing I'm going to experience today, you know,
For
um,
sure.
at least physically. Now, work can take on a very different psychological element, and it certainly brings its stresses and things, and I will need to be physically equipped to deal with those emotional and mental stresses that work provides. But this is an interesting topic. We don't have to unpack the whole thing, but just like, when someone that's really fit walks into a room, you go, hey, I know what it takes to achieve that level of fitness, and so you kind of
Sure.
instantly have some respect and maybe some admiration, maybe even some envy or interest and curiosity about, like, man, how do they do that? How did they achieve that? And I think the respect and curiosity thing is something I get a lot at work that benefits me, especially in a corporate environment where, I'm working with Harvard grads and MIT grads, and I went to a small Division II school to play football. And so I am the outlier like you couldn't believe. Yet I have great influence and I have great respect from my teammates and colleagues for the history of, great work that I have done, but a lot of it started with just like, who is this guy? How is he so fit? And it opened up some dialogue and some conversation, and there was a mutual respect where we could start. And that helped me make connections. It helped me create influence. It helped me do my job. So to say that fitness has helped me in the workplace, like it has in more ways than one might expect.
I think it will give you a level of confidence too that you may not have, because if you let's say that they give us a time in one of the workouts to finish in. Let's say the time cap is 6 minutes, the target's 4, and you do it in 2.5 minutes. That feeling is pretty awesome. And you can you can ride that through the day. I don't care what bad
Oh,
emails you get. And that's kind of like the bug or the rabbit that we chase in CrossFit, if you will.
mm,
Um,
it's
and
so
I think
true.
that definitely can help with your job, and especially like some of the people. I'm sure you deal with a lot of people who do not work out and don't CrossFit. They don't understand the
Yeah.
community, the culture, the things behind it. They all think, oh, y'all are crazy. It's a cult. That's what I get from people sometimes, and I'm like, you need to try it a couple times, and you'll know how I feel, and you'll
Yeah.
understand. You'll understand more.
I'm going to be real careful how I word this. I don't want to like stereotype or categorize anybody, but like, I work at Microsoft. There's a lot of very successful people there with incredibly massive incomes and are in significant positions of influence, power. There's a lot there. Now, you could say that pretty much for, you know, any corporate environment, even non-corporate environments, that holds true to a certain degree. Microsoft's a big company, so the scale is a little different. And the level of entitlement and arrogance at times that can come with that. Now, this is not the majority. Let me be very clear. I work in a great company. I'm incredibly blessed to be there, and I have so much respect for my teammates. But on occasion, you bump into this, and you're like, man, you need to get humbled. And CrossFit, it humbles you every day. And you know people that are really grounded and really humble, and that's humility is a very common thread in the CrossFit space.
Yes.
And so when you bump into some of these folks, you're like, man, you could use a little humility. You want to come do something? Let me show you a little bit of what I do. I
Right.
think that'll help out. But yeah, that's humility is something that not only I value deeply, it's a Boulder value. It's just also
Absolutely.
a thing that you're gonna become if you do CrossFit long enough.
We spoke about adversity, humility. Um, so let's go into football a little bit here. So college. So there's a lot of humility and adversity in football.
Mm.
It's like the whole game is basically adversity and humility.
Yeah.
Um, just give us a snapshot there of kind of like your football career. Like you could maybe one of your favorite moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Football was a
maybe an embarrassing moment. I don't know. Whatever you want to roll with.
oh, I could think of some of those too. Yeah, I mean, I played college football, Division II school, Central Washington University. I was recruited as a quarterback, and I was a quarterback, and I was a good
I
quarterback.
never. You said that, and I was like, "There's no way this maybe this guy's
Yeah.
an option quarterback because
No, I was I could
you're
ball around.
built different. You're built
Yeah.
different. Like go ahead.
Oh yeah. And so, I was this all league quarterback, and I was feeling very confident, and I was not humble when I was a senior in high school. And I was thinking I was all world. But hey, I'm going to go to this Division II school. They've offered me a little bit of money. I feel good about that. And here we go. And so I went there and was just not performing the way that I wanted to perform. The offensive scheme was much more complex than I was prepared for. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
doing the kind of preparation and study of the playbook that I should have been doing. I was a really good athlete, and I was just relying on my athleticism to lead me, and it wasn't enough. And sure, I had some like moments where my athleticism would show up, and they were these awesome, like, whoa, cool moments. And they granted me some like instant notoriety, and I had built a little reputation, but it wasn't sustainable. And it was after my sophomore year that I was just really butting heads with the coach, and it just was not going well for me. And I was really kind of wondering, do I want to continue to play quarterback? And so we had some of those conversations as a coaching staff and myself. And, I had a few coaches that offered me, like, hey, you want to come play running back? Like, we'd love to have you. You want to play safety? Yeah, come do that. Hey, do you want to play receiver? You could be a receiver. And so I was, you know, grateful enough to have a few different options, all of which were really interesting. And I had played at some point in my career before. But I was like, I want to, I've got, as a quarterback, I naturally have a good understanding of the offense, and I'm athletic enough where I think I want to give receiver a shot. I want to score some touchdowns. Don't want to beat my body to heck like running back position. And so I transitioned, and that worked out great. And I got on the field a bunch. And part of the impetus for the transition, aside from me not playing well and button heads with my coach, was we had some really dang good quarterbacks ahead of me. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to beat out these guys.
Yeah.
The cards are not stacked in my favor. So transitioned, got on the field, played a bunch, had a really cool career, scored, I don't know, not a lot of touchdowns, but
Mm-hmm.
a fair amount of touchdowns, and had some big moments. And it was really cool. And I'm glad I made that transition, and it allowed me to continue to play at a high level and get on the field, contribute. And so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely have some standout moments, like a drop pass that, you should have had, and it just like haunts me
Yeah.
in a critical moment in the game. And I definitely had one of those. Yeah, and then some cool touchdown catches as well that you're just like, oh, that was a fun moment. You can just put yourself right back in that
All right,
situation.
we're gonna have to do some digging and get some film on this. We got to look at a few of these. See what you look
Yeah,
like.
man, I wish greater film existed in
Uh,
those days.
I have like one last question for you. You're pretty well put together mentally. Like I've met a lot of people like myself. I feel like I am, but I'm pretty scattered. I've had a lot of good bosses, really bad bosses. I've had really good professors, really bad ones.
Mm.
I came from two amazing parents, like just couldn't ask for more. Do you have did you have like a really like strong like mentorship, or did you have anybody that really kind of helped you like pave your way to where you are now?
Now, two incredible parents, loved them. I took, healthy dynamic, divorced at a young age, and so that was just always part of my life. But like, did they instill a bunch of great things in me? Absolutely. And so I'm so grateful for my family. In terms of like a really inspiring and aspirational leader that was just like a rock. I don't know. I had some good coaches in my life, but I also had some
Mhm.
coaches that um, had a style that I was like, if I'm ever a coach, I would never do that. And so I was very observant. I was a very insecure kid.
Okay.
And I was bullied a bunch as a kid, and it shaped me to a way where I was like, look, I'm going to observe a lot. I'm very clear on the people that are respecting me and treating me well and the qualities and characteristics that they demonstrate, the people that aren't treating me well and disrespecting, how that makes me feel and how I will avoid that behavior. And it really just molded me to be a person that I wanted to be, a person that I was looking for, honestly, in my life. And then I've invested a lot in leadership and, these like self-help books, and, this bookshelf behind me has shaped me as well. And just like, man, what's great leadership look like? And I've spent so much time reading and thinking about that, and then putting that into practice and being a father that I can be proud of, and being a husband that I can be proud of, and
Right.
being a coach that I can be proud of, and being a friend and a teammate that I can be proud of. And so it's just been a real point of intentionality in my life. And yeah, I don't know if I have a singular person, but I have a lot of people that have helped shape me along the way for sure.
The the bullying aspect. I was bullied pretty heavily for a
Mm,
lot of years. I was always very tall and very skinny, and I got pushed around a lot.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I excelled at sports, because that was my only outlet. Um,
100%. I
and I
can
think
relate to that.
that's where some kids are missing out. They get bullied at school, they go home, play video games. It's not really a great outlet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that bullying, like it'll mold you into a stronger person. I'm not saying that everybody should be bullied to the point I mean, I got bullied, like, I mean, it was a lot. I don't feel bad about it now. I've let it just, strengthen my character even more. And and I think it's done wonders on you, honestly. It's probably made you a stronger person. And you're like, I'm not going to let anybody do that to me again. I'm just going to become a very intelligent, honest, high integrity guy,
Yeah.
live my life that way. And that's obviously evident with you.
Yeah. Well,
So
thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. And I
that's what
see that.
we call you dad. That's why, you know,
Yeah.
we joke around about it, but I got one more quick one for you. Everybody in competition has like a snack, or they have something they eat right before, like gummy bears, or some people drink soda. I've heard all sorts of like different things. I try
Mhm.
to do a lot of fruit before I go out there and work out. Is there something that you do that's the secret sauce?
Yeah, definitely not a secret sauce. I mean, I have a thing that I've kind of been like gummy bears or sorry, like fruit snacks.
Okay.
I've found that to be like a thing that I do. How much it helps, I couldn't tell.
The Welch's fruit snacks.
Yeah, I do like those.
Okay. We're gonna
Those are,
go buy our subscribers are gonna go buy this afterwards. That's why we
oh,
need to know exactly.
yeah, we'll see. Like peanut butter and honey sandwiches, but I have to eat them like at least an hour or two before I would go compete. Like even that is
Okay.
like I get an incredible rush of adrenaline, and my stomach doesn't do well if I've got stuff in there before competition. So like I'll be the guy that's sprinting to a bathroom, moments
Gotcha.
before we're about to take the floor. So I got to be really thoughtful about the things that I put in my system during the competition. And it's usually like I'm just drinking tons of water. I'm eating lots of really simple sugars. And then at the
Okay.
end of the day, hopefully I can go get some chicken and rice and vegetables and have
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yeah, what's your like go-to meal?
yeah, it's chicken and rice and vegetables. We eat that constantly as a family, or pork and rice and vegetables, or beef and rice and vegetables. Like we're very structured as a family. And then my lunch every day, I have tuna and spinach, some pistachios, and like a couple crackers for a crunch and an apple.
So my food protocol and your food protocol are so different. You'd probably be about 230 if you ate the food I ate.
Oh man, maybe. And I love pizza though, so you'll find me binging on pizza.
Yeah, hey,
On the
there you
weekend,
go.
for sure.
But you know what? You got to have those releases. That just keeps life in balance. Was there anything you wanted to roll through that you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean, naturally, I have all these same questions for you because, I know a lot of the journey that you've been on and that we have been on
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yeah.
And, it's been real, gosh, I could go a number of directions here, but like one, the wolf pack, your influence on the wolf pack, you brought me in to that group way back when. And
Right.
so I'm so grateful that you did that. And like the way that we have gelled as a group has been I just can't imagine being right here, right now without that group. So that's been awesome. But then to see like, look, you're sitting in a, I don't want to give away anything here, but you're sitting in a really good spot right now
Right.
to be going to the games as well. And I know how much this means to you.
Yeah.
And I know the journey that you've been on over these last few years, but the last games season and this game season in particular. And just look, it's an emotional roller coaster, man.
Yeah.
And
Extremely hard.
you were so close. Like you were the phone call away last
Right.
year. And this year you're on the inside looking in or out, however you want to think about it. But like
Right.
you're currently in the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kudos to you. Like it's been a crazy season. I'm so stoked that, you're sitting where you're sitting and I'm like, you couldn't have a bigger cheerleader. I hope you get there, man.
I mean, I put the number 48 on my whiteboard at the house. That's where I initially finished last year. After some videos, I went to 44 and then with backfilling to 42. And I just, every time I went to work out, I just thought about number 48. I'm like, this is where you were. And I made a promise to myself that this was going to be, all the chips are all in. I'm doing everything I can. And, we're going to let it ride. And I know I can compete at a high level. It's just getting everything to lock in at the exact same time. And that's how my weekend went. Everything clicked. All the hard work, all the training. Boulder definitely prepared me for this. Like, this is not even a sales ploy. This is just real talk. Like it's kind of interesting. Like some people were like, man, I was really blown out after semifinals. Central nervous system wise, I was pretty smoked, but I wasn't sore. I didn't have any joint problems. I didn't tear my hands. Like I was prepared. Like we trained that harder than that.
Yeah.
Some of the workouts we did were just ridiculous. and I think that's the purpose. Your training should be harder than what you do on the stage.
It's funny because I was just talking to Jason and Aaron and Adam. I was like, man, we've got some guys that we think about it. Were like kind of on the fringe last year, introduced Boulder Programming, and now they're in. Like now it looks like they're going to the games. Like what a cool, not only accomplishment and sense of satisfaction for the athletes, but like what a cool proof point for Boulder.
Oh, for sure.
That's kind of awesome. And there's a good list of guys from Boulder that could go to the games. That's just so cool. I'm really excited to get it all finalized.
We're setting the campsite up. We're gonna have a crew there. It's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to have.
What position are you sitting in right now? 25?
26 right now. One of the Mayhem guys got pushed forward because of the judging situation.
Dude, it's gonna be a stressful weekend or what?
I feel really good.
How many times are you looking at the leaderboard a day right now?
Oh man, probably 100. I'm not even gonna lie.
We're gonna find out Monday.
Yeah, I'm either gonna be celebrating or I'm gonna be digging a hole for myself.
That would be really cool to be on the floor together at the games, That'd be awesome. I hope
Yeah.
that comes to fruition.
Yeah, me too.